First contact and the challenge. The silence of space shattered when the Void Dominion's fleet emerged from hyperspace, their obsidian vessels blocking out the stars beyond Neptune. 300 warships, each one a monument to centuries of conquest, arranged themselves in perfect formation. Their arrival sent ripples through the solar system's detection grids, triggering alarms from Earth to the mining colonies on Titan. Supreme Overlord Vexthor stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Eternal Supremacy, his forearms clasped behind his chitinous back. His compound eyes reflected the blue jewel of Earth floating in the distance, another primitive world to add to his collection of 847 conquered civilizations. Broadcast the standard ultimatum, Vexthor commanded, his voice resonating through the bridge like grinding stone. Give them 3 rotations to surrender unconditionally. The message reached Earth within minutes, translated perfectly by the Dominion's universal language matrix. People of Earth, you have been chosen for integration into the Void Dominion. Surrender your weapons, your resources, and your sovereignty. Compliance brings mercy. Resistance brings annihilation. You have 72 hours. Ambassador Maria Chen stood in the United Nations War Room, surrounded by military leaders and heads of state. The holographic display showed the enemy fleet's overwhelming numbers, but her face remained calm. She had trained for this moment for 15 years, ever since humanity had detected the first signs of the Dominion's expansion toward their sector. Ladies and gentlemen, Chen said, adjusting her neural interface, Operation Rising Phoenix is now active. Send the response. The reply that reached Vexthor's fleet was brief. Earth chooses freedom. You have 24 hours to leave our system. Vexthor's laughter shook the bridge. In 8 centuries of conquest, no species had ever issued a counter-ultimatum. His tactical officers shared amused glances, their mandibles clicking with mirth. Primitive fools, Vexthor mused. Launch probe scans. Let's see what pathetic defenses they've managed to construct. The scans revealed exactly what the Dominion expected. A handful of orbital platforms, some aging cruisers, and planetary shields that seemed barely capable of deflecting asteroids. What they didn't detect were the stealth fields hiding humanity's true arsenal. Deep beneath Earth's surface, in bunkers carved from ancient bedrock, Admiral James Washington activated Fortress Earth's command network. Holographic displays illuminated as hidden facilities across the planet came online. The Moon's crater-pocked surface concealed massive railguns. Mars harbored an entire fleet in underground hangars. Even the asteroid belt had been weaponized, transformed into a minefield of dormant hunter-killer drones. All stations report ready, his aide announced. The quantum communication array is synchronized across all defensive positions. Washington nodded grimly. Humanity had sacrificed 2 decades of prosperity to build these defenses, operating in absolute secrecy. Every resource had been poured into preparation for this day. 24 hours passed. The Dominion fleet remained in position, their confidence unshaken. Vexthor ordered the standard intimidation display, a demonstration bombardment of Pluto to showcase their firepower. The dwarf planet shattered under concentrated plasma fire, its fragments scattering across the outer system. Your time has expired, Vexthor broadcast. Witness the price of defiance. The Dominion fleet advanced toward Earth, their formation perfect, their shields at full power. They had conquered galaxies with such displays of overwhelming force. No species had ever survived their initial assault. Captain Elena Rodriguez commanded the stealth destroyer Shadow Strike, hidden in the magnetic shadow of Jupiter. Her crew of 80 had been stationed here for 6 months, waiting for this moment. Through her viewport, she watched the enemy fleet's approach on tactical displays. "Ma'am, they're entering the kill zone," her weapons officer reported quietly. "Hold steady," Rodriguez whispered. "Wait for the signal." The signal came not as a transmission, but as an action. Earth's moon suddenly erupted with light as concealed weapon emplacements revealed themselves. Massive kinetic projectiles, accelerated to near-light speed, streaked across space toward the Dominion fleet. The aliens' confident advance faltered as their forward shields buckled under unexpected impacts. "Impossible," Vex Thor roared. Their technology readings showed. His science officer interrupted, panic creeping into its voice. "Supreme Overlord, we're detecting quantum signatures throughout the system. Their true defensive grid is extensive." Before Vex Thor could respond, humanity's counterattack began in earnest. The asteroid belt came alive as thousands of dormant drones activated, swarming toward the Dominion fleet like angry hornets. Mars' hidden hangars opened, disgorging sleek warships that seemed to bend space-time around them as they accelerated. Even peaceful Jupiter revealed deadly secrets as its moons launched volleys of antimatter torpedoes. Rodriguez gave the order her crew had been waiting for. "All ships, drop stealth. Engage at will." Suddenly, what had seemed like empty space around the Dominion fleet filled with human vessels. They weren't the primitive ships the aliens had expected, but advanced warcraft, incorporating technologies reverse-engineered from ancient artifacts humanity had discovered buried in Earth's crust. The battle erupted across the solar system. Human ships danced between enemy fire with impossible agility, their pilots enhanced with neural implants that made them one with their vessels. Dominion warriors, accustomed to overwhelming primitive defenses, found themselves outmaneuvered by an enemy that fought with desperate creativity. Lieutenant Commander David Park led a squadron of interceptors through the enemy formation, his consciousness merged with his fighter systems. Time seemed to slow as he processed tactical data at superhuman speed. His squadron carved through enemy fighter screens, their coordinated attacks guided by quantum-entangled communication systems that made jamming impossible. On Earth, civilians watched the battle through broadcast feeds, their faces illuminated by the flashes of distant explosions. Children clutched their parents as humanity's fate hung in the balance. But there was no panic in the streets, only grim determination. Every human knew their role in this moment of history. The Dominion fleet regrouped, their superior numbers still a significant advantage. Vex Thor's initial surprise gave way to rage. No primitive species should possess such capabilities. No first-contact civilization had ever bloodied the Dominion's nose like this. "Enough games," he snarled. "Activate the obliterator. We'll crack their planet like an egg." The Eternal Supremacy's bow began to glow as its planet-killer weapon charged. Energy readings spiked beyond anything humanity's sensors had encountered. If that weapon fired, Earth would cease to exist. Admiral Washington watched the readings with growing alarm. "All ships, priority target is the enemy flagship. Everything we have now." Humanity's fleet converged on the Eternal Supremacy, pouring fire into its shields. But the massive vessel's defenses held, its own weapons cutting through human ships like a scythe through wheat. The obliterator continued charging, its glow now visible from Earth's surface. In the midst of chaos, Ambassador Chen made a decision. She activated a secure channel to the enemy flagship, using codes that humanity had painstakingly deciphered from intercepted Dominion transmissions. "Supreme Overlord Vex Thor," she transmitted, her voice cutting through the battle noise. "I am Ambassador Chen of Earth. Before you fire that weapon, you should know something we haven't revealed." Vex Thor paused, curiosity overcoming his rage. "Speak quickly, primitive. Your death approaches." Chen smiled coldly. "We know about the precursor artifacts. We've found them too. And unlike you, we figured out how to activate them properly." The bridge of the Eternal Supremacy fell silent. The precursor artifacts were the source of the Dominion's advanced technology, ancient devices left behind by a long-dead civilization. But activating them fully had always eluded even the Dominion's best scientists. "Impossible," Vex Thor whispered. "No lesser species cold." His protest died as Earth itself began to change. Ancient symbols appeared across the planet's surface, glowing with eldritch energy. The precursor defense grid, dormant for millions of years, awakened at humanity's command. Beams of pure force lanced out from Earth, striking Dominion ships with surgical precision. But Chen wasn't finished. Your empire was built on stolen precursor technology you never fully understood. We spent 20 years learning their language, their science, their purpose. Would you like to know what we discovered? Before Vexthor could respond, his ship's systems began displaying warnings. Precursor codes, broadcast from Earth, were overriding Dominion control protocols throughout the fleet. Weapons powered down, engines ceased firing, shields flickered and died. The precursors didn't die out. Chen continued, her voice now echoing through every Dominion ship. They evolved beyond physical form, and they've been watching, waiting for a species worthy of their legacy. Congratulations, Supreme Overlord. You've just helped us prove that humanity is that species. As Dominion ships hung helpless in space, their own technology turned against them. Vexthor realized the magnitude of his miscalculation. This wasn't just another conquest. Humanity hadn't merely prepared for war, they had prepared to inherit the stars. The tables had turned, but the battle for Sol was far from over. The battle for Sol. The sudden reversal stunned both fleets. Dominion ships drifted powerless while human vessels maintained strategic positions, their weapons trained but not firing. In the eerie quiet that followed, Ambassador Chen's voice continued to resonate through the disabled alien fleet. Supreme Overlord, this is our final offer. Leave our system peacefully, and we'll release your ships. Continue this aggression, and face the full power of humanity's inheritance. Vexthor's compound eyes blazed with frustrated rage. His empire had never retreated, never shown weakness. But as he watched his tactical displays fill with error messages, the Supreme Overlord made a calculated decision. Very well, human, he growled. You have earned a temporary reprieve. But know this, the Void Dominion has resources beyond your comprehension. We will return. Chen nodded, though Vexthor couldn't see it. When you do, you'll find humanity ready. And perhaps by then, you'll have learned that the galaxy has room for more than one advanced civilization. The precursor codes released their grip on the Dominion fleet gradually, allowing the alien ships to restore basic functions. As his fleet limped toward the system's edge, Vexthor studied the tactical recordings of the battle. These humans had fought with ingenuity that reminded him of species from the Dominion's ancient histories, species that had nearly defeated them before being crushed. But as the Dominion fleet approached the hyperspace jump point, alerts flooded their sensors. Massive energy signatures appeared throughout the outer system. Reinforcements, but not human ones. Admiral Washington frowned at the new contacts. Ambassador, we're detecting unknown vessels entering the system. Configuration doesn't match any known Dominion designs. The mystery resolved itself when the newcomers broadcast a message in dozens of languages. To the defenders of Earth, we are the Free Systems Alliance. We've monitored your battle with the Void Dominion. Any enemy of theirs is a friend of ours. Captain Sarah Mitchell, commanding the battlecruiser Prometheus, was the first to respond. Free Systems Alliance, this is Earth Defense Force. We appreciate the support, but we got this situation under control. The Alliance flagship's commander, a crystalline being whose translated name was Shimmering Dawn, replied with what might have been laughter. With respect, Earth warriors, the Dominion never accepts defeat. They're stalling while their Grand Armada mobilizes. You've bloodied their nose. Now they'll try to take your head. As if to confirm the warning, Vexthor's fleet suddenly changed course, no longer heading for the jump point, but regrouping near Uranus. Hyperspace portals began forming, not for retreat, but for the arrival of massive reinforcements. All stations, red alert. Washington commanded. Prepare for extended engagement. The first wave of Dominion reinforcements emerged. The Subjugator Corps, elite ships designed for crushing rebellious systems. Each vessel dwarfed the original fleet, their hulls scarred from 1,000 conquered worlds. Leading them was Warlord Kaxur, Vexthor's superior and veteran of the Dominion's most brutal campaigns. Supreme Overlord, Kaxur's transmission dripped with contempt. You were defeated by primitives. Step aside. I'll show you how the Dominion deals with upstarts. The combined Dominion forces now numbered over 1,000 vessels, with more arriving every minute. Earth's defenses, impressive as they were, couldn't match such overwhelming numbers. But humanity had learned something crucial in the first engagement. The Dominion's greatest weakness was their arrogance. Dr. Lisa Park, Earth's leading xenologist and David Park's sister, worked frantically in the Lunar Command Center. The precursor artifacts hadn't just given humanity advanced weapons. They'd provided profound insights into galactic history, including detailed records of every species the Dominion had conquered. "Admiral, I found something," she reported. "The precursor database contains liberation protocols for every species under Dominion control. If we broadcast these, Washington understood immediately. Do it. Wideband transmission, all frequencies." The liberation code spread like wildfire through the Dominion fleet. Suddenly, enslaved crew members across hundreds of ships found their neural shackles deactivated. Rebellions erupted as species who had served the Dominion for centuries suddenly remembered freedom. Chaos engulfed the enemy fleet. Some ships turned their weapons on their former masters. Others powered down as liberated crews refused to fight. Caxur's perfectly organized armada fractured into a dozen competing factions. "Now," Washington ordered, "all forces engage. Alliance vessels, coordinate with our tactical network." The Battle of Sol erupted into its final phase. Human ships struck at the disorganized Dominion forces, while the Free Systems Alliance carved through enemy formations with practiced precision. Captain Mitchell led a daring assault directly at Caxur's command ship, her crew volunteering for what everyone knew could be a suicide mission. "Prometheus actual to all hands," Mitchell announced. "We're going to punch a hole right through their center. Whatever happens, make it count." The battlecruiser accelerated beyond safe limits, its experimental fusion drives pushed to the breaking point. Dominion fire concentrated on the lone human vessel, shields buckling under the assault. But Mitchell's sacrifice created an opening that the rest of the fleet exploited. Lieutenant Commander Park's squadron screamed through the gap, launching antimatter torpedoes directly into Caxur's ship's exposed reactors. The massive vessel's death throes created a chain reaction, destroying dozens of nearby Dominion ships. In the midst of battle, something extraordinary happened. The liberated slave species didn't flee. They joined humanity's fight. A Thraxian dreadnought, its crew free after 3 centuries of servitude, interposed itself between Earth and a Dominion planet killer. Saurian fighters, renowned as the galaxy's finest pilots before their conquest, turned their skills against their former masters. Ambassador Chen watched the tactical display with growing hope. What had started as Earth's desperate defense was becoming something greater, a galaxy-wide revolution against the Dominion's tyranny. Vex Thor and Caxur, their fleet in shambles, retreated to the eternal supremacy. The Supreme Overlord's earlier confidence had evaporated, replaced by something the Dominion hadn't felt in millennia: fear. "Warlord," Vex Thor spoke urgently, "we must use the Omega Protocol. Destroy this entire system before the rebellion spreads." Caxur's scared face twisted in agreement. The Omega Protocol would collapse Sol's star, annihilating everything within light years. It had been used only twice in Dominion history, both times erasing entire civilizations. But humanity had one final surprise. The precursor artifacts hadn't just been weapons or tools, they were teachers. In the deepest vault beneath Earth's surface, a team of human scientists activated the ultimate precursor gift, the Stellar Shield. As the Dominion's doomsday weapon charge, Earth's sun began to change. The Stellar Shield transformed Sol into a defensive barrier, its solar wind becoming a directed force that swept through the system. Dominion ships found themselves pushed inexorably outward, their weapons rendered useless against the star's protective embrace. "Impossible." Caxur rage. "No species can control a star." Chen's final transmission reached every ship, every world listening to the battle. "The precursors didn't leave us weapons. They left us knowledge." The knowledge that stars themselves can be guardians, that planets can be fortresses, that freedom is worth any price. The Void Dominion's reign of terror ends today. The solar wind intensified, becoming a stellar storm that drove the Dominion fleet from the system. Their mighty armada, reduced and humiliated, had no choice but to retreat. As they jumped to hyperspace, the Free Systems Alliance moved to pursue, but Admiral Washington called them back. "Let them go," he said. "We've sent our message." In the aftermath of the Battle of Sol, the galaxy would never be the same. The Void Dominion, exposed as vulnerable, faced rebellions across their empire. The Free Systems Alliance grew as liberated worlds joined their cause. And at the center of it all stood Earth, no longer a hidden backwater, but a beacon of hope. Captain Rodriguez, her ship battered but intact, summed up humanity's new position. "We didn't just win a battle. We started a revolution." Ambassador Chen addressed the United Nations and the watching galaxy. "To all species yearning for freedom, Earth stands with you. The stars belong to all who reach for them, not just those who would conquer them." As the sun set over Earth's cities, children looked up at skies no longer filled with threat but with promise. Humanity had faced the darkness between the stars and emerged not just victorious but transformed. They had dared the Empire to strike, and in their defiance, found their destiny. The age of human expansion had begun, but it would be an expansion built on alliance, not conquest. The precursor's true gift hadn't been technology. It had been the understanding that strength comes from unity, that courage can overcome any odds, and that sometimes the smallest world can change the entire galaxy. In deep space, aboard the retreating Eternal Supremacy, Vexthor studied the battle recordings one final time. The humans hadn't just defeated them. They had sparked something far more dangerous to the Dominion than any weapon. They had sparked hope. And across 1,000 conquered worlds, beings who had forgotten the taste of freedom began to remember. The Battle of Sol was over, but the war for galactic liberation had just begun. Earth stood ready, no longer alone but at the heart of a growing alliance. Humanity had proven they wouldn't kneel, wouldn't surrender, and wouldn't abandon those who needed them. The stars awaited, and humanity was ready to claim their destiny among them.